Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn, good whatever, wherever you find yourself. Welcome to another episode of the Demystify Tech. But yours truly, Samuel Adrani. I do this every Friday, and until with any longer, we try to demystify everything technology to you on this channel. So if this sounds like something that is of interest to you and you want to learn more about it, this is the place to do it. Hello, a big hello, and welcome to all of you watching Twitter, to X, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Thank you for joining. If you care, just drop a hi or just your name and where you're watching us from, and I will give you a shout out. Well, this week, what are we talking about? We're going to continue with actually this part four. I'm taking a look at the Microsoft Azure App Service. We've done from setting up a basic Express application creation, but today we're going to talk about custom domains. Sometimes, when you, oh, not sometimes, all the time, create an Azure App Service, you get a default URL or default address. Today we're going to see how to change that from purchasing a domain right from within App Service. I bet some of you know you could do that, and also how to do that from an external service. So if this sounds like something you want to do, let's go for the montage. When we come back, we're going to jump right into it. They can stay with me. Some of the modding developers journey begins on the channel. Well, if this is your first time, thank you for joining us. It will do us a big favor and help us a lot to grow the channel if you just subscribe. Just subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like and share. Or you can easily, what you can is just scan this QR code. That will take you to the channel. Thank you for making a date with us. Well, like you always know, hey, I can Video, how you doing? Oh, yes, my content the show, Pratt Charlie. We're doing great. We're doing great. You know, it's a new year. We're trying to get ourselves pumped up. So yeah, thank you. Up. Hopefully, you can get us into 2024. Thanks for showing up. I really appreciate that. Awesome. Feels good when your family joins you just to make sure that you're doing well. So I appreciate that a lot. So before we get into it, there's some exciting news that just was announced this week, which is the Microsoft Mesh for Teams is generally available. Yeah, I think that calls for some interesting celebration. But if you don't know what the Microsoft Mesh and Microsoft Mesh is the evolution of bringing mixed reality into your workspaces, so you'll be able to have immersive experience with your colleagues or partners in a virtual environment. To just probably make it for you to better understand it, let's quickly watch this video, which Dex hopefully you can see that. So let's watch this video to give you an understanding of what that means for to use a Microsoft Mesh in Teams and in mixed reality. Let's watch this. I I don't know if you noticed a lot of things in that video, but seriously, I'm blown away. I saw a couple of things there that I probably want to highlight. I'm not sure if you saw that, but let's look at this again. I'm just going to scrub through the timeline and watch something. Now, did you first notice the incorporation of Copilot in it? Now, this is a 3D immersive space, which means that this environment you're currently seeing would have been created by a 3D artist, right? However, if you notice very carefully, you realize that there was Copilot in there telling Copilot how to make that environment, the mesh environment cool. Now, watch this. I saw the first part that I saw that I felt was cool was, well, you get into the immersive, you create your avatar. This is how you create your avatar, quite simple. I have my avatar in Teams. I probably need to show you Teams. I'll probably bring another laptop to show you next week, because once I turn on Teams here, it's gonna capture all my cameras. So you create your avatar, you can dress it. Now look at this. This is the first. After you've created your avatar, look at this. Look at what they did. They said what? Dress me in a business casual outfit. And Copilot actually dressed your avatar. This is the capability and the power we're talking about in Microsoft Mesh, and in general the Microsoft Copilot ecosystem. So not just that, if you're paying attention as well, it dressed him, took him into the Teams meeting. They had fun, and now look at this. Now in the environment, look at what they did. They said add a classic dark green jukebox playing quite instrumental jazz. And look at that. It immediately added it into that environment. Now, the cool thing about the mesh environment, is that you can create different experiences. So as an organization, you can create a different experience for all hands that will probably be set somewhere in Maui, or somewhere in Mauritius. Or you can create an environment, an immersive environment where you feel cool too. And that means that yes, you need to create the environment. But don't worry. With the introduction of the co-pilots in there, you will be able to achieve that. Look at this beautiful fireplace. Make it cozy and people can sit there. And now this is another use of it says what? Make the space cozier. And look at what it did. It transformed the space, into something really cool. And this is just a few of the things that you can do with the Copilot, sorry, with the Microsoft Mesh for Teams. It's generally available, which means you can talk to your IT department people, look at the policies and everything. You can create a test group of few people to test it. So I'll be enabling this, and I will be talking about it more probably sometime in the episode. So once again, thank you for joining. That was just to introduce you to what's happening in the world of Microsoft Tech and all the awesome things, especially in the era of Copilot, AI, and all the fun stuff. If there's something specific you want us to talk about or want us to do, just feel free to drop that in there for me. So let's get into our topic for today, which is creating custom domains for your app services. So I'm going to go jump all the way to the desk, and I'm going to bring up, let's go in there, portal. Let's get into our portal. So I'm just going to bring back, or going to Azure portal, which is where we've been working in all this while. I think accounts we're using, yeah, that's what happens when you have a lot of accounts. You can't be too careful. Let me go into my apps, and yeah, in here. So let's do this. Go. Sorry guys. College. I'm going to go into directory. Check. Go. All right. So I believe. Let's go to risk. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff running in here, and this is, where is our, yep, Demystify Tech. That's our resource group, and this is where we have all our stuff. So if you go to Demystifying numbers, now, so this is what I was talking about. Now by default, when you create your Azure App Services, Azure provides you a default domain. So if you look closely here, you can see that. So you can see that here, this is the default domain that I'm giving, and it's always whatever name you give to the app service at azurewebsite.net, right? That's always the default name that you're giving. However, you might want to change this, right? You want to make this, in this case, is Demystify Tech. We have, I think we have a demystifytech.com domain which is already bought, but then you want to probably make it some maybe Demystify Tech with sam.com, all right? Or you want to do now. One thing I've realized is that the domain name service on Azure doesn't do some of the top level domains, the extensions like .land, .office, stuff like that. Not all of it can be found in the Azure domain service, which I'll show you, right? So in my case, what I end up doing is that I use a third party. I use Namecheap a lot, or you can use GoDaddy. I use Namecheap. I buy the domain, just buy the domain there and come and set it up here. So today I'm going to show you how to set up something locally here. When I say here, I mean Azure App Service. And then the second part to be buying it from an external domain provider, domain service provider. So we're going to change this Demystify numbers.azurewebsite.com to probably let's say demystifytech.com or something that is available. So to do this, first of all, you need to add, it's a service. Azure has a service. So you go ahead, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into my group. I'm going to click on create. So the first one we're doing is creating, we need to have the domain name. And then once we have the domain name, we can go ahead and, now sometimes domain propagation can take up to 24 hours, or mostly from my experience, within some few minutes, the domain propagation happens and you'll see your web. But before then, sorry guys, before then, let's go look at what, so that you don't, so that you don't think that I'm doing some which anywhere. So going to select this. So this is it. This is what we have there. Swift, welcome to Azure Apps. It's called Swift Rapid Exchange. So if you've been following the tutorial, we created a basic Express application, deployed it by FTP, we updated to use continuous integration, and we talked about application deployment slot, and then we talked about application. Today we're going to give this URL here, this long URL that Azure gave us. We're going to change it to something really interesting. So Demystify, we want to call it something. So assuming our domain name is SwiftLand, all right? SwiftLand or Swift, let's say SwiftLand for the purposes of demo, all right? So we want to give it, let's say swiftland.com or swift.land, right? I'm going to show you all that. It's the same process. So to do this, let's go to our resource group, go ahead and create. Then here in the marketplace, if you have it already pinned to your favorite, you can see it in your favorite. But because you don't have it pinned, I have it pinned in my everyday work because I do a lot of that. So I'm going to put here, you can also select Azure Services only, and then come here and type in domain name, right? And when you type domain name, it's going to load up. You can select Azure only. You can see DNS zone, right? So this Microsoft, DNS zones that allow you to host. Now, this is one way to go about it, right? You can create it and host the domains. Now, the other way is to go directly. So as you can see, there's a DNS server. If you want to run a DNS server, if you want, yes, the how do you call it? The domain DNS zone is what we're going to do. Now, however, you can either go this route by selecting the DNS service and then provisioning it. The other route or other way you can do it, right, is go straight into your app service. And then on the left side where you have the blades, right here, you can see custom domains, right? So you can go there, click on custom domains, and then You realize that by default, Azure puts it there and binds it to an IP address. That's how come, you can always get to this. So it's a unique address of it. Now you can go ahead and say, buy an app service domain, right? Or you can say add a custom domain. So adding a custom domain, which is the second thing we'll see, is when you already bought the domain from, let's say, GoDaddy, Namecheap. But if you want to buy an app service domain from within Azure, you can click this. That's another way to go around it. So you can click on buy app service domain, and as you can see, create app service domain is the same. So it's the same as going to the marketplace and saying app service domain, right? So here, using the account is going to be in this resource group. And what's the domain name? Right now here, if you look closely, it tells you that it's about, there you go, $11.99 each. It's a standard, most of it's about standard rate. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to buy it from you. You can get it cheaper from other third-party hosts, and then with the third-party services, you can get a lot more top-level domain names like .lan or something. Since we are sticking with SwiftLand here, so basically what you're going to do here is just type the domain name. So if you say Swift, so it's going to run and it's going to be low. You see, so now it tells you that. So this is what you're going to see. You're going to see it's going to tell you Swift, this domain is unavailable, but these are the other options. You can do swiftonline.org, Swift Pros, whatever, right? Now, since we want to do LAN, so we'll say this is Swift LAN. I can do Swift LAN, and I can add the top level domains that I want. So here you can see that I have swiftlearner.org, swiftlearners.net, swiftlearn.org. There are a lot of them. So if I want to do swiftlearn.com, let's try this. So if you don't provide the extension, it assumes you're referring to the common one, which is the .com, right? So SwiftLearn, it still says it can find this Swift Education, SwiftLearn. Okay, so let's do this. So this is what I'm saying. It's based on availability on the domains. So if I say I want to do something like, let's say, let's do Swift dot. Let's try this. So we say Swift.learn, and I try this. Now, see, this is what I'm saying, that .org. Microsoft most times, I think they're using GoDaddy. That's what Microsoft under the hood is using. So now let me show you this. If I go to Namecheap, sorry, which is where I buy mine, right? And I go and do this. Swift.learn. I search for this domain. Okay. This invalid top level domain. Okay, let's do Swift. Swift.com is taking. Let's look at the options. It's giving me, no, I think, okay. Swiftland.com. Let's try this. Ah, look at that. There was one. So, okay. So here, this is outrageous. Look at the price, $10,000. What crazy. And renews for $15.88. It doesn't even make sense. Now, you realize that swiftland.com is a premium domain. Now, if I do Academy, yep, I get SwiftLearn Academy for $14.48. That would mean that if I'm purchasing from this site, I would have to buy this, right? Now, if we come back here to Azure and I want to try the same thing to see what, let's try this. SwiftLearn Academy. Go, 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 go. You see? So you see that it says this domain is unavailable. So that's what I was telling you, that sometimes when you're buying off of Azure, it doesn't have all the options, right? Yeah, saying I should do SwiftLearn, swiftlands.com, right? So just for the sakes of showing how it is done here, I'll just go for one of the names, right? So let's say let's say Swift Learning, or let's say Swift, what's it saying, swiftlearners.com. Let's see this. Come on. Okay, swiftlearners.com, swift-learning.co.uk, rapid student. uh, let's see. Okay, you know what? Let me try this. I never have. I'm just using my name, guys. Ah, look at that. So when I use my name, say samaladrani.com, when I use my name, it says, yeah, I found it, right? So, and if I, let me try this, samaladrani.dev, if you would even see it. Well, it's already, now, do you see it? Now, you see that it's not seeing samaladrani.dev, but if I came to Namecheap and I said, hey, I'm looking for this domain, you see? You see that Namecheap found it for me. Namecheap said, yes, this name is available, but Azure is saying, no, it's not available. So let's go ahead and start with Azure and then we'll go and buy the Namecheap one. So I'm going to go ahead and then, so samaladrani.com, forget about the script name. We just want to, so this would be any name. You go through the cycle of picking the name that's available and then you register with it, right? So just go ahead. I'll go to contact information. It will try to ask you. So it's going to pull out all the contact information that I have on file. Just go to next. Assign default route. I'll say yes. Assign it to www. I'll say yes. So this just make sure that even if you do samaladrani.com or www.samaladrani.com, you know, this domain should be valid. So next, privacy protection is enabled. Enable auto renew. No, I'm not going to auto renew this. I'll just leave the tags alone. I can use the tags. I could use the tags if I was going to do some kind of organizational structure. It says there's something on the contact information. Let's see. Oh, okay. So let's go ahead. I was asking for this territory, Greater Accra, and I think we can go to next. Roots correct. Yeah, all this looks fine. Review. So let's go to review and go. Dating is done. Okay, can go ahead and click on create. Now, so while this is creating, while this is creating, I'm going to go ahead and purchase the domain, the samaladrani.dev. I'm going to purchase it from Namecheap, right? So that we have two domains we can test with. So the one is the external one, or one we call is a custom domain, and one is an Azure App Service domain. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to my cart. I have to log in. So samaladrani.dev is my it's still my phone. Let's 12. Go to checkout. So this, yes, obviously you would go and buy domain privacy. The for 1 year. I'm not adding any hosting, adding any. All I need, so now watch this. All I need is just a domain name because I can use it to point to any application that I build. Right? So I'm just going to set the domain privacy is on 1 year 1298. So what's making it 13? I feel there's something else added to it. That is okay. Anyway, let's confirm the order. All right, this is a build thing. So for both Azure and your own external domain purchases, they will bill you. So don't forget that. Let me go ahead and get myself. I'm going to log in. Okay. Let's wait for the token to. And don't forget, if you have any questions whilst I'm doing it, just pop it in, and I'll try to answer that. All right. Great. Let's just going through the process. And yeah, don't worry, I'm going to do this. So whilst we're waiting for this to build, I'm just going to go ahead and do this off screen because there's going to be sensitive stuff going. Oh, okay. So is the registration that's charging me. Yeah, I don't want to show you. I mean, no, we're going to show you my. Never going to. Don't forget, it's a live stream. I don't have the luxury of hiding stuff. If it's pre-recorded, then I can go ahead and hide stuff anywhere I want to. But in this case, it's just So just by showing this on the show, I paid $13 to buy a domain, dev. And on Azure, I'm paying $11.99 to buy the domain, samaladrani.com. Okay, so the two domains have been purchased. Okay, well, still deploying. So let me bring this back here. So here I have purchased it, samaladrani.dev from Namecheap. So this belongs to me. Now the next step is what we're going to do with the DNS, how to bring the DNS records and point it. What we are trying to do is to change this URL from reading demystify numbers, the blah blah blah. We're going to move on. All right. So let's refresh this, wait for this to happen. Now, the route I took on this side was to go to the app service, right? Was go to the app itself and then go to custom domains and then buy an Azure App Service domain. Hello, subscribe to this. Yeah. Yeah, Charlie Deja, welcome to the show, Mr. Lanta. I appreciate joining us. Another tech guru. One of these days, I should have you on the call to talk about your journey. Yeah. Yep. So right now we're waiting for this to deploy. Now, like I said, we use the app. We could have gone ahead to go to subscription and then go to our resource groups, and the same way create and then the app service domain or a DNS service, right? So I could go ahead and say app service domain. All right, so we've seen the notification that is done. So here, see, app service domain is here. So here, initially I said DNS. Forgive me, it's supposed to be app service domain. Yes, DNS, you can use DNS to manage. Right now, you realize that in Namecheap, right now, the domain I bought it from Namecheap, and Namecheap is the DNS. They are managing that DNS for me. Hosting domains are cheaper and SSL free. Yeah, Yes. Hey, so welcome to the show. Thank you. Yes, you are right. So, what I said, right? You can use any hosting. You can use any hosting. Yeah. So yeah. Thank you so much for that. For those, and yes, and so congratulations to you and the guy on your funding. I read the articles. I'll be coming for my share very soon. So it says Hostinger domains are cheaper and SSL free. Yes. So that's it. I'm using Namecheap because I pretty much use it. I have almost a lot of things in Namecheap. You can use Hostinger, Bluehost. Now, any hosting service that sells domain that is cheaper, you can use them, right? There's nothing stops and prevents you from using it. You can use them. So that's fine. The only thing for me is that most times my applications are in Azure, Microsoft Azure, and I don't want to use that. So I like to just purchase the domains from anywhere I can find it cheap or where I'm comfortable with, and then bring that in. So that's what we're going to see. So first of all, let's go ahead and assign. So like I said, if you go to app service domain, it's going to be the same process we saw, right? So if I go ahead and click on create, you can see the same process, search for the domain, which is what we saw. So I don't need to go through. So let's go back to our app. Now, if you go back to your resource group, let's sort them by the type. So you see here, you have the samaladrani.com. Yeah, I have that. It allows the DNS config. Right. Yes, that's true. Deja. Very, very simple, very, straightforward. Yes, it allows you to do that very easily. So you don't have to, because it's a hassle. A lot of people, it's on other platforms, it's not as straightforward as you think it is, but here it makes it very easy. So if we go back to our where's the app, Demystify numbers, which we are going to change very soon, and then you go down to the custom domain section. So now check this out. So one or more domains are not secure. We're going to do the binding. So let me show you this. So you realize that we purchased the samaladrani.com, and it's also asking us if we want to bind it to www. So sometimes you realize that if you are browsing some website, you go to the browser, we call it the apex domain, right? You just go to, let's say, samaladrani.com, and in some cases www. Now, if they don't do the binding wall, in some cases, if you go to samaladrani.com, you might not see anything, you might have to do www.samaladrani.com. So in most cases, there's a forwarding or a reroute that when you go to this, it forces it or reroutes it to that. So we can fix that easily. So what we need to do, I want to bind samaladrani.com. So bind this. So I'll click on add bindings, right? Now the bindings is just a way to connect it to an IP address. And here we have an IP address here. So I'll use an IP address based. And then I'll create an app service managed certificate. Now here's the case. When you buy from Azure, it doesn't come with, that certificate. All right. So you would have to bind it to some, certificates. Now, the good thing again here from Azure is that you can actually bind it to that certificate, right? So you can have a certificate and bind it to a certificate, or you can import your own app service certificate if you have one. Again, we have not created a certificate for. Let's be sure if Demystify Tech doesn't have a certificate, a wildcard certificate. I don't think we do. So let's go to our. Let's go to type. No, so we don't have. So here again, so that's why people, so like Sosu said, if you want to have that free certificate that comes with it. Now that the default domain that Microsoft gives you has a SSL free. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Now, if you want to have your own other domain, you need to have that extra SSL, attached to it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to create an Azure managed SSL, right? And for the purpose of continuous learning on the show, I'm going to create a wildcard SSL. Now, wildcard SSLs are quite expensive. Now, what they allow you to do is that for a given domain, they allow you to secure the domain, the subdomain, and all that. So, for example, this samaladrani.com will be secured. And then in the future, if I do api.samaladrani.com, or I do blog.samaladrani.com, or I do iot.samaladrani.com, or I do demystify.samaladrani, all that will be what? To be secured for me using the same SSL. I don't have to buy different SSLs, right? And then whether it's www, you can also use that. Now, like I said, it's a bit pricey to buy a wildcard SSL. Now, you might not need to buy a wildcard SSL. You might just need one just to secure that domain. I might use it. I have the spend. It's better to use the Azure own app service. Okay, let's see what we have here. So says that, and yeah, thanks for joining again. It says it's better to use Azure own app service domain registrar because they automatically add it to your Azure Content Delivery Network. Yes, that's true. That's true that if you use the Azure domain registry, you can get that. However, the challenge here is, like I said, the challenge is that sometimes most of the domains you want, like for example, what we wanted to purchase this one, samaladrani.dev, we couldn't get it on the Azure one, right? But like you said, the workaround will now be that after I have bought this samaladrani.dev domain, okay, from a third-party hosting company, I can now say that, look, don't be the one running or managing my DNS or my name service, right? I want Microsoft Azure to handle the DNS, the name service for me. In that case, when we started, you can create your own DNS and take control of managing it. Let that happen in Azure for you. So yes, you're right with that, but there are some challenges to it why we don't, why I personally don't do that, because you might not get some of the domains, but worst comes to show, I can create an Azure DNS and then have it manage all my name service and all my records. So let's go ahead. Now, I'm going to get a wildcard certificate, right? But like I said, you don't need to get a wildcard certificate, okay? And again, as you can see, Microsoft makes it quite easy for you to do that. All right. Could we add CNAME to fix W? Yes. Oh, you can fix that. You can fix so let me bring the question. Yeah, so Sosu is asking, can we add a CNAME to fix W issue without going through the SSL stuff? Any gotchas for going any gotchas for doing this? Well, so again, when we created the app service, you got a default domain, which was already secure with an SSL. Now, that SSL that was provisioned or given to you was assigned to that name. In this case, what is it? It's called demystifyingnumbers.azureWebsites.com. That SSL was unique to that domain name. So since we're changing the domain name, we need to have an SSL to manage that, right? To secure that. So that's why we're going through that. If you wanted to point to with www, that would have to be the same, probably the same domain but a different subdomain. But even that securing it, if you don't have an SSL that supports that, that might be a bit of a challenge. So that's hence going this path. So let's go ahead and do so. Again, Azure makes it quite easy for you. So you have two parts to do it. So we can go to certificate, as you can see from here. You can go to certificate and you can add a certificate, right? Or you can bring your own certificate if you have another one, right? Quite easy. Or we can go back to the custom domains, and then in the binding, as part of the binding, we do the IP-based binding, right? Let's do IP-based binding. And then this is that there's no certificate that matches the selected domain. So then we can go ahead and either create an app service managed certificate or import an app service certificate, right? Now we don't have it. So again, if you want to, whichever part you want to use, either you create it from here or you go to the marketplace and create an app service certificate. Is the same thing. You can attach it to it. So I want to do it from the context of this. So I'll go ahead and create an app service certificate. And then watch it 3D printing. I hope it's not, I hope the noise is not, you're not picking any feedback from there. But yes, there's something I think I talked about it on my show on Tuesday. So so I'm actually printing an enclosure for a weather an air quality sensor project that we are working on. So it's just an enclosure for it. It houses some environmental monitoring sensors that we deploy outside to collect air quality data. I'll talk more about that next week on the IoT Tuesday show, because I started talking about it last just Tuesday. So if you're interested in that, we can talk about that. Yes, and if you want to see some printing, we can do that. So let's go ahead and validate this. So I clicked on the validate, and it's running. So here, so you can see host name eligible for app service managed certificate. Please note that this might take up to 10 minutes for the app service to manage to be issued. So that's it. I just click on add. And so the beauty of what I just did, our CO2 sensors. So let's check here. So the CO2 sensors. Sorry guys, I know this is an IoT show, but I just have to answer it. So the sensors, the raw sensors are not expensive. They are cheaper. But if you buy the modules, the ones that sorry, I was going to bring one of the boxes here. I promise you what, join me on Tuesday, right? Yeah, someone says he's seen that on my Twitter feed. Yes. Yeah. So that's Crafted Climate. Yeah, so it's on my Twitter feed. Maybe for the sakes of sorry guys, I don't want to diverge here. I just want to share, yeah, so for Preximix. So for the modules themselves, they are not for the sensors themselves are not that expensive, but the modules with the chipset and the potentiometer to adjust the sensitivity, but those are not too expensive, but they usually sell them in a pack. So you get a bunch of them, MQ3, MQ7, 213, MQ6. You get them in a pack, and yes. So they are quite. I do some of them. I get a lot of them from from AliExpress. So you can get a few of them on AliExpress if you want to. So yeah, let's go to the decks and real quick, and then we'll jump into it. this is not IoT show, but I want you. So as you can see from here, this is it. So they sell this bunch. So MQ3, MQ that is going to is about $0.9. So check out AliExpress. That will answer yes. And the for those who said the Twitter fee, yes. So this is I beg you, you've got me into suspense. So we'll come to that. So this is crafted climate. So this is how they look. So the box you're seeing is what I'm 3D printing out there. Yeah. So this is it. That's what we're printing. So I can talk more about this on IoT shows. If you want to see more about this, come to the IoT show and then we can learn more about that. All right. Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, so you were saying the beauty of what you just did. Yes, I know. So the beauty of what I just did by thank you very much, Prince Mix. So the beauty of what I just did here, right? By binding it or doing the binding directly from the app service is that Azure is going to go ahead, create the certificate, do all that, and bind it for me, right? Now, when in creating an Azure App Service managed certificate, you require something called a key vault, because the certificate would have to be stored in a key vault, right, where it's going to be secured and all that before it's issued and used. I don't know, after it's issued, then you can use it. So the beauty is that with the path I have taken, it's going to create all that, set it up, store it there, and just do the binding for me seamlessly. That is why, because I'm attaching it to an app service, so it already knows that. Now, if I had gone the other route, which is go to the marketplace or the Azure App Service marketplace, spin off an app service, manage certificates, then it will require me to have an existing key vault before I create the certificate. So usually what I like to do is that in a project, right? If I'm creating a project, I usually put my project, and the organization is more in resource groups. So in the resource group, I'll create a vault which is going to contain any sensitive information I have there. So ideally, I would have like a production vault and a testing vault, right? So I just put it there, or sometimes just one vault, depending on how I want to save cost. So, and then before I provision it. Now, do you see it? Look at that. Automatically, look at what just happened. Can we see this? So you realize that automatically Azure has bound it to it. Azure just did the magic, right? So Azure did it, and it's bound, it's there. I didn't have to stress myself. You're going to see what we're going to do when we want to now change it from .com to dev. You see that. So in this case, it handled everything for me. DNS, all the C names, all the W names, A names, TXT names, aliases. It's done all that for me. I didn't have to stress. So that's the beauty in having it right within, Azure. Like your name is numbers. I find it difficult to pronounce. Like you said, so everything is handled for you. You're going to see the steps we need to go through to bring another one from, outside. So now what I have to do here is just select this. And then, yep, that's done. So this is it. It's bound to this. So let's check this out. Now I can go to samueladrani.com, and that should still point to Swift. Do you see that? Isn't that beautiful? So now we're no longer using Demystify numbers or AzureWebsite.com. Now, granted, that will still work. Sometimes it takes a while for it to, if you set it as a default, it will change somewhere here, but it will still work. So if I copy this here and I came back and used Demystify, it will still work. It will still point it. So far as I've not deleted it, right? But if I use this, somehow it still functions, right? It still works. Let me reset the zoom here so it's done. So you see that it will still work here. For folks using a free SSL service like Let's Encrypt, is it feasible to set up SSL and have it unload in Azure? Oh, I wish. Sorry. Okay, you know what? Let me try to do this. Sorry. It's just that I'm trying to get your Deja. I'm trying to get your conversation on screen. The plugin I'm using requires me to have the chat open, because I think the question you're asking is very it's very, very important. So let me see if I can pull you in. Yes, there you go. I think we can do some magic. No, no, no. Yeah, put this on the side. So let's see if we did this. If I okay, so let's see if we can pop. So I want to show they just Charles's questing is very interesting. Saying that let's see, we just expand this. So let me mute this. Guys, give me a sec. And yeah, I want to be able to bring your message so that I can share the context of what you're saying, because it's very. There you go. Okay. Anyways, yeah, let's go. Let's go for it. Let's. Yeah, I'll address it. Don't worry. Yeah, let's start. Yes. So the question is, for folks using free SSL, let's encrypt. Is it feasible to set an upload auto upload, have it auto that human? How easy is it? So the key vault, right? Azure Key Vault allows for certificate rotation and all that. So that means that if you want to go that route, yeah, you can do your certificate to load unload. The problem with binding it to the app service would be that anytime it changes, right? You could use scripts to do that. You could use scripts to trigger if it changes, rebind. It's possible, but it's not as straightforward as it is. The only thing is, again, if you're using let's encrypt, it means that you would have to have your automation to auto generate that anytime it changes. Also, uploading it, you can always create a script to do that. So the short answer is yes, you can do it. How easy to do? Some bells and whistles, but have to be done. But it's very doable. Maybe we can explore that on another episode, if that's something that a lot of people share interest in. We can do that now. So right now, somaladrenaline.com is working fine. Now let's go ahead and now bring, how do we now bring somaladrenaline.dev? Now, because I just purchased this externally, if I go to dev, it's just going to be pointing to Namecheap. It's going to be a park domain saying that, hey, this domain has been bought by one Samuel Ajani or someone who is just, that's what's going to happen. There's nothing in there. All right. So it's the same process. We go back to our app and then we go to domain names, custom domains, right? And then here, now if I wanted to bind this as well, I'll just go through the same binding process, and then I can reuse, because the domains are the same, I can reuse the same certificate to bind it. Now, before then, I wanted to point something out. Let's go here. Let's go. Anyway, okay, that's fine. So again, we're going to go to the app, all right? And then go to there we go. Where is that? Custom domains. Before then, if you go to certificates, right? Now, manage certificate. Let's see. I hope I didn't open that thing. It starts slowing down my. Does I have $40 remaining? Don't mind them. I'm using. I have a lot of accounts. All right, let's go. So you see, no action needed. Somaladrenaline.com. So this certificate automatically, created for me by the Azure App Services, and yeah, that makes sense. What's the Azure? So if you want to do that, if you want the auto renewal feature, you do that using the Azure certificate. Because when you do that, you can ask it to auto renew, and in that case, it will auto renew it, and anytime it regenerates it, it will do the rebinding again for you in the background. So the easiest is to use the direct Azure certificate, not to purchase a certificate from another service and bring it in there. If you do that, that means that anytime you rotate it, you have to copy and bring before if any changes can be done. So the best practice would be do it from within Azure. or use the Azure certificate itself. So now, so you see, that's done for us. Now let's go quickly. Let's do the external, custom the external domain, and then we can have some fun with this. So again, I'm going to add a custom domain, right? Now, if you look at the top here, it's asking me, let's go here. It's asking who is a domain provider. Is it a certificate? Is it a domain I have bought from Azure, or it's another domain? And a certificate. Am I going to so you see here in this case, I can decide to say, hey, use an app service managed certificate, or just add a certificate later, whether I want to do the IPO, SNI, SSL. So let's go ahead and do this. So in this case is provided by another provider. I'll add a certificate later. I can decide to say, hey, add an app service certificate, let it be an IP based, and it will do that as well for me whilst it's bringing the certificate. For safety reasons, I'm going to do an app service managed certificate. So even though it's going to import, it's going to use the domain name from another provider, it will bind it to an Azure generated certificate, which I do all the time. So what's the domain name here? So if you go here, it is samueladrani.dev. So I paste this here. So let's go here. So this is what you're seeing. samueladrani.dev. So there's a space behind it. That's why it's misbehaving. So there you go. So this is what it does for me. So now with this, now do you see where this is coming? So the extra work that Azure did for you that you didn't have to worry about. Now, because this is an external domain, it's telling me, hey, you need to go to your domain provider and add these DNS records. You need to add an A record and a text record to this to point to it. So that's what we're going to do. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead. Let me shift myself over here so you can see what's happening on this side, the right side of things. What I'm going to do now is copy this, which is resolving to the IP address to point to this service. And I need to do an A record. I need to do an A record with a host of @ So now I come to my external provider, go to the @ Now this will vary based on where you've hosted your where you bought your domain from. So from here, I'm going to go to add a new record. Okay, and the first one was the first one is an A record, right? So I'm going to go here and create an A record. The host is an @ and then so the host is the @ sign and the value is what I copied from there. All right. And then there's add another record, and the second record is a TXT record, and the host is ASUID. So it's a TXT record. So here we go ahead and say a TXT record, ASUID, and then the value is what I got here. So now these are the two values. These are the two values that we need to add. Okay. So I go ahead and add a new sorry, don't need a new record here. I just need to save all changes. So I click on save all changes. Now this is happening from where I purchased the domain from, right? So now these two have been added. Like I said, it takes a few minutes for it to propagate for Azure or any other DNS service to pick it up. But this, from my experience, doesn't really take that much time. So if I come here, and because I've already added it, all I need to do is to hit this button right here, is to hit the validate button, right? And then what it's going to go do is that it's going to go out and it's going to look out for these records. And if it finds it, it will say, yay, I validated it. Sometimes, so just give it some few, I've noticed, give it some few minutes for it to propagate. It will say it will say it can take up to 24 hours, but give it a few minutes, it will propagate. And then you will see that the add button here will come alive. There you go. So that's it. Click on add. And this binding would also happen automatically for you because you selected to use an app service binding as well. So let's go ahead. Let me refresh this. Go. There we go. Give it some time. Ideally, this should bind. Refresh. If it doesn't bind, it's quite simple, just like we saw. Just go ahead and bind. Just do the add binding. And the same way, so app service, let's create an app service binding for it. Very easy, IP binding. Validate. So I know that. Okay, there you go. So I refreshing. So now we will see two certificates generated for us because we are binding to the app service certificate, right? Uh, sorry, two different domains. That's what I meant to say, because you have to. So yeah, it's two different domains. So samaladrani.dev is a different domain. Samaladrani.com is a different domain. So we just give it some time. It's binding. It's binding. It's binding. It's binding. And once this is done, we can now go ahead and access the website either via samaladrani.dev or samaladrani.com or Demystify numbers. They will still work because they are bound to it, right? So that's why sometimes companies or people buy their name domain. So someone will say samaladrani.axter. I want whether it's .net, .gov, .org, or whatever to point to the same application or whatever that is. You can do the same thing here and bind it. So yeah, the binding is happening. As you can see, it's going to take a little time, so I can just refresh this whilst we're waiting for the binding to happen. I'm seeing the status up here, so you can see under the notification there's a visual indication that something is. So yes, that's how you add it. Let's wait for it to completely add. Refresh. Now at this point, I really do not need to open this any longer because it's already brought, is being done here. What I'm waiting for now is just binding to the IP so it can be secured. Now it doesn't mean you can, it will go, but it will not be secured. Let me show you something. So if I go here and I paste this, right, and not use, let's see, hopefully it's not using that. Dun, 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 dun. Come on, come on, come on. Bind. Yeah. And I know like the other earlier participant said, you know, because if it's hosted in Azure, obviously your CDS and all that is going to be interesting. So yeah, just waiting for propagation. Now you see that we're using HTTPS. It is not secured. So we can't be calling it in a secured way. Let's go and have this run. That's why we're doing the binding, to make sure that we're binding it to an SSL, and that makes it a lot secure, right? So let's go. Let's wait for this. It should be done by now. Okay. It's still using. So I think Chrome is forcing HTTPS. I have some setting. I'm sure it's forcing, but ideally, because this is not yet secured, so you can't access it with HTTPS because it's not secured. Until there's a binding, it would, you know. So, but there's something going on. The error is I've been talking about SSLs, connection timed out. What's happening to the DNS, external DNS? Is it not propagating? Let's see. It's not packed. Let's go to domain. Let's be sure it's not packed or something. If it was packed, it should have shown this domain is packed. Yeah, packing is off, so it's not packed. So yeah, we should see that. Anyway, let's wait for the binding to complete. Successfully created a money certificate but failed to configure SSL binding due to error. Cannot update because total number of allowed IPs per site to be exceeded. Okay, so I've been hit with an Azure IP restriction because it can't. I'm trying to bind two certificates to the same IP and it's restricting me. So what I can do is actually delete. I can delete this binding, the samaladrani.com binding. Hoping of your awesome. Sure. Thank you, DJ, for showing up. Thank you. Yeah, we'll catch up and have some more fun. So yeah, so the gotcha is there. So yeah, I should have mentioned this earlier. Those are some of the restrictions of it. So if I could forward it, right, I could do a forward to this how do you call it? I could do a forward from here. So if you did samaladrani.dev, forward it or redirect it to samaladrani.com. But if I want to use it within Azure, as you can see, based on the limitation we're having here, cannot update IPs because total number of allowed IP addresses per site will be exceeded. Now, if I you know what, let me check something real quick. Let's do this. Are we 1 hour? Wow, we are 1 hour 2 minutes. Interesting. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, time really flies when you're having fun. Let's see something. I want to check something quick. See if we can. So let's delay. Pum. Feature view. Zone redundancy. Private access. Few things. Anyway, so I was just trying to check if I updated the app service plan for that, but then to use it, so we close off, I could go ahead. Now the process is the same as you have seen. Now that the key part I wanted you to see was the DNS records you had to create on your site. So to do this, so if let's go to certificate first, so you can see that certificate was issued. You see, there you go. So there are two certificates that have been issued successfully, dev and .com. Certificates have been issued. So what would happen is that you can either delete one. So in this case, I can remove the .com binding here, which is the IP binding, or I can change the type of binding, right? Instead of IP, use an SSNI binding. Actually, let's bind again and use an SNI binding, all right? So what certificate? We have the somaladrain.dev, and I'll use an SNISSL certificate, not an IP based. So there we go. And then there you go. So go around the limitation. Instead of IP, I'll use a SNI certificate, SNI SSL binding, right? So now this is bound to it. So if let's try this again, and it should point to it. Now, like I said, the propagation might take some time because the domain is from a different a domain name or host name provider. So sometimes it might take a bit of a time, but it shouldn't take too much time for it to connect. I'll just give it some time for the propagation to happen, and probably by the time we come off for the next it's just, I think it's still propagating in the background. So that is all time will permit us for today's session. I'm sure by the next session it should be propagated. So we have seen creating an app service, deploying files using the manual FTP. We've seen CI/CD. We've seen deployment slot. We've seen app settings, and now we have seen it's showing at my end. Oh, okay, yeah, I know, right? I don't know what's going on, but yeah. Sosu says it's showing at my end. Awesome. Oh, I'm sure that if I open it in another browser or something, nothing cached will work. So thank you for making a time. Now we're still going to explore the Azure services, right? And did you solve the issue on the same? Yes. Yeah. So yeah, can you please share your name with me so that, because the numbers is hard for me to pronounce the numbers 00. So direct line API with a web chat. So that's going to be on, I think, on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday is where I do Power Series. So yeah, so we're going to look at that on Sunday. So make a day with me on Sunday. We're going to go through it out, the findings, the changes that have happened, and how to best approach it. So so like I said, we've mostly explored a lot of app service, deployment slot. Other things we can talk about might be, if you want to do some networking, networking stuff, want to deploy it into that is, if there's a lot of interest in doing in that, I can show how to deploy that. But for now, unless there are any other specific requirements, I'm going to move to the next Azure service that I want to talk about. And there's a lot of talk about containers. There's a lot of talk about AI. So to determine the next series we're going to do, whether we should continue with the Azure Container App Services or the Container Services offerings in Azure, or we should jump into the Azure AI offerings. Now, note that if we do go with the Azure AI services, for you to follow along and be able to do it, you need to be approved to use some of the Azure AI, Open AI service. That might be a limitation for other people. So if I had a choice or chance, I would have probably said, let's look at the container services Azure has. But hey, that has him. So what I'm going to do is that on all my social feeds, on whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, just comment, let me know. I'm going to do a poll within the week, from actually probably this evening or tomorrow. I'm going to do a poll to see what topics what service should we treat for the next series, and then the highest vote we're going to jump in it, do it. So hey, once again, thank you for joining us. Like I said, please do well to subscribe to the channel, invite others to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's grow the channel. Let's learn together. If you can't directly do this, like I said, scan this QR code and have some fun. So this is where we leave it for tonight. I'll catch you again on Sunday for those interested in Microsoft Power Platform, and then next week, take the same time with me. Have some fun. Till then, thank you very much for making time. The flip side. As always, be safe. Let's make the world a better place through technology. And let's see you soon.